Well, hello and welcome everyone to the session about the future of EV navigation. I want to get us started. I'm Alex Barth. I'm the head of automotive here at Mapbox, and I have three expert panelists joining me here today to discuss the future of electric vehicles and the infrastructure that we'll need to support that future and make it come a reality. If you've been wondering about why we're talking about EV navigation and how maps and navigation technology is a critical part of the future of electric vehicles, then you'll come to the right spots. Today traditional OEMs like GM, Toyotas, the Volkswagens of the world, the emerging players like the Lucids and the Rivians of the world, the charge point operators, navigation application makers, and map makers all work together today to make electric driving in the future at scale a reality. They're all making significant investments in that area, and I'll let today our experts shed more light on what this means. First, we'll have Simon Ouellette, the CEO of Mogul Technologies, the creators of ChargeHub with us. ChargeHub is a mobile application and a hub for discovering EV charging locations and hitting at those locations that you may be familiar with and maybe already using. They're a leader in the development of a more friendly EV charging infrastructure in the US and in Canada. And I'm also thrilled to have two of our in-house experts with us today. It's Angela Navarra, our lead of direction services, and Shrey Kular, who is our senior product manager for navigation. Both are passionate about electric vehicle navigation and the future of the driver experience more generally, and can share how Mapbox supports the space. For the panel discussion today, I will start by posing a few questions to our panel, and then we'll open it up to audience Q&A. You can either submit a question here in the chat and we'll pick it up from there, or when it's Q&A time, just simply raise your hand and wait to be invited to ask a question live. So with that said, let us kick off. So first, to set the stage, maybe like electric cars are going mainstream. I think there's been really like in 2021 and 2022 a pretty clear trend. However, to put this into perspective, there are about 1.7 million electric vehicles on the streets in the United States today, and that's out of 250 million of registered motor vehicles. So it's still a tiny fraction. There's about 50,000 charging stations in the US in comparison to 150,000 gas stations. We know that charging stations are going to be used very differently, and we can expect many more charging stations to crop up to support the demand. And I'm curious to hear from Simon, what in your mind needs to change in the infrastructure today to support that scale of the future that we want to achieve?
Yeah, good question. I think one of the things that we've seen already going from not many EVs 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and just starting to see that ramp up. In the early days, a lot was about range anxiety. When people were coming into the EV market and were like, where am I going to charge? Am I going to make it there? Also, the vehicles had less range back then. And now what we're seeing more and more, range anxiety is still present, especially with new EV buyers, but more and more the existing EV owners have what we're starting to call charge anxiety. But it's, okay, I feel confident I will get to a charging station. I will find a charging station I'm looking for, but am I going to be able to charge once I'm there? Is there going to be any issues that I'm going to face while I'm charging? And so, all in all, it comes down to an aspect of user experience, essentially having the drivers have full confidence that they will get to the charging point they want, and once they get there, their charging experience will be seamless, will be exactly what they expected, and they will be able to start the charging station from whatever is their starting method of choice, whether that's a specific app they like to use, whether that is their in-vehicle system, and so on. So it's that interoperability, essentially having the entire system work seamlessly together in a reliable fashion. So I think those are the big steps, such that we go from the early adopters today to the mass market tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Simon. If I may chime in also, Alex. This is why we designed the Mapbox platform with flexibility in mind. We want customers to implement delightful and scalable user experiences for their customers through personalization. From branding, charging, preferences, bringing your own data. Drivers might want to optimize for speed of charge. Other drivers might be more interested in, let's say, having dinner while you're charging your vehicle. And as Simon mentioned, charge anxiety is certainly a problem, but your navigation system can monitor the status of hundreds of charging stations in real time to help the drivers basically make the decision that's right for themselves.
So there's an interesting, I would say, to summarize this, right? There's sort of two parts of the journey. The one is help me discover the right location that I can charge at, either somewhere midway in my trip or at the destination. Help me discover the most convenient place and most reliable place for me to go charge my vehicle. But then also when I'm getting out of the car and I'm ready to charge, how can I make that transaction as seamless as possible? I know, Shrey, you've been thinking a lot about how these pieces come together, and there's a sort of element of trust that the user experience needs to win from the driver for those pieces really come together. And what we're seeing, I guess, and also what we're learning from our customers, right, is that the same level of trust that you have today when you use an internal combustion engine vehicle, that that you'll be able to get the gasoline or the diesel that you need to drive, the same level of trust to be able to find the right charging location and then transact at the location is not there yet. What are the specific challenges that you're seeing there, and what does it take us to overcome those?
Yeah, I think you said it yourself at the beginning. So the last time I looked at, the EV sales are still single digit of all the car sales, let's say in US today. Even at global scale, it is still in single digit. So that speaks of volumes. Like what we learned was, like, after price and the availability of EV vehicles, potential EV buyers, like people who are still on the fence of buying a car, EV vehicle, they still worry about like taking this leap. And one of the biggest concerns are around range anxiety. We think about, customers tell us, like, can they plan a long trip? And if they out of charge, will they be able to find the station when they need? Like how the users are going to adapt their driving behaviors when they make this kind of a switch is something the EV drivers are thinking about when they're making this kind of a choice. So we see companies are investing this through various lenses to boost EV adoption. And when we talk to EV drivers, they tell us range anxiety is important, but what else? So journey planning more specifically. So a quarter of the EV drivers we had spoken to, they tell us that improved route planning can help account for the most charging experience what they have, like if the things are automated. Customers desire, 30% of the drivers told us that they desire more and more, let's say, visibility and more say to the environmental impact. These are existing EV drivers who want to further minimize their carbon footprint. So how Mapbox is approaching these issues, like how can we be part of that solution? We look at this at a very foundational level. Like two things we are trying to tackle. One is, how can we make accurate battery prediction as simple as possible for the end users, and how we can make personalized EV trip planning. So if we talk about battery prediction, why it's important, we see most EVs and ICE vehicles use a simple range prediction, which means, say you're going on a 2-hour trip and you expect your vehicle you would reach with 20% battery at the end of the trip, right? But what we see is each drive is very different, especially in EV. So it depends on the vehicle and the user. So roads can have varying speeds. Traffic conditions can change. It'll have steep elevations up and down. Poor traffic conditions can make a big difference into how much you consume, let's say cabin power and things like that. Your prediction is completely unreliable. You may actually end up reaching your destination at, let's say, 5-7% versus 20%, which may be fine, may not be fine for someone who is doesn't have that risk appetite, right? Or maybe you have to reach your destination and you want to go somewhere else. Like how would you how would that make a psychological impact into like users' behavior choices is something to like really think about. So a good way how we are solving at Mapbox is we are factoring in variety of influences. We are making this energy models as rich as possible. We take in influences like driver behavior, live road speed conditions, as well as historic traffic conditions. We take elevation into account, this acceleration and de-acceleration at different junctions, because we have all the data coming from our Mapbox telemetry devices. We know how each road behaves. So we bring this model together, and now we can have a very complex model, which is just one API away, and you can still know, and you can factor in all these dynamic variables in real time when customers are making those trips. So this is one way we're trying to boost the trust in the EV navigation for the new buyers. I'll stop here for any comments.
Shrey, what would you tell our audience today on where they can find more information about the technology, maybe even get started building if they would like to build an EV-enabled experience in the applications today?
Absolutely. We have shared a ton of resources already on Mapbox product page. I'll send the link right now in the chat, paste it in. So we have interesting, let's say, thoughts around how we are approaching and these products and services, what's already running live. So I'll point to the docs page. We have a playground, which recently went live. A playground which can show you how you can just pick simple EV presets, depending on what car you have. And you can just have in one quick API call, a trip plan, which is choosing the most efficient chargers along the way, depending on what user constraints you have. So really, you can personalize it. I'll paste those links right now.
Well, thank you, Shrey, for posting that. While you do that, Simon, I saw the ChargeHub application, a critical and convenient functionality of the ChargeHub application today as you download it is that you can pay through that application for charging networks like ChargePoint that are fairly prevalent around where I live, right? But also SimiConnect and others. Can you speak to why you decided to integrate payments deeply into the ChargeHub experience?
Yeah, so one of the things to know is the fact that we have the payments in the ChargeHub app is really because we actually have kind of two sides to what we do. So what you see in the ChargeHub app is because our ChargeHub app is connected to our other product, which is our Passport Hub. So really our Passport Hub is there so that the whole EV charging ecosystem can really grow and scale. Because right now there are so many different, whether they're automakers, there's fleets, there's various entities that want to be able to seamlessly access charging stations from a whole set of different networks. And it would just be completely inefficient and to the point where it'd be just impossible for everyone who wants to access all the networks to actually have a one-on-one connection with each and every one of them. So the fact that we created what we call the Passport Hub enables someone to connect to the hub and then automatically be connected to all the different networks that are connected to the hub. Interestingly, it's kind of a case of eating your own dog food, call it like that, where we within our app we are a customer of our own hub, which really also helps. It shows to everyone else who's connecting to our Passport Hub. We're doing it, and we actually have to use it ourselves for our own app, which really improves the whole system and improves the process.
Thank you. I'm wondering whether there's an audience question. Anyone who is listening in today has a question that they would like to direct at one of the panelists or at the panel at large. You can either raise your hand, then we'll call you up, or you can also just simply type this into the messaging box. While you think about your questions, maybe I was curious what the future holds. Maybe Angela, you would like to share what you're thinking about in terms of the future of EV support by the Mapbox platform.
Yeah, for sure. Shrey already shared some of these. I think two of the biggest topics, at least for the upcoming year, are going to be customization and accuracy. What type of vehicle are you driving? what are the climate conditions, wind, all sorts of different weather that impacts the performance of the batteries, as well as the customization for the vehicle, but also for the customer. What type of trip, what type of experience the EV drivers are trying to experience. Ideally, this will bring some more gas-powered drivers into the EV world. It will be a day.
It will be an achievement. Simon, how one thing maybe I would add, this would be a segue over to your side maybe, is that that what we're thinking about is really about as Angela said, that the journey planning and the accurate and precise prediction of the charge, right? Another part really is also the experiential quality of the arrival, and there obviously we're thinking about bringing and tying in the reservations and payments much tighter into the experience. What do you see from your perspective as the future? From ChargeHub's perspective, what were you excited to bring to your customers next year and the years after?
Great. One of the key things that we have as ChargeHub is we're a community. So ChargeHub is really an extended community of EV drivers. We work with all the different networks, and also drivers also participate in bringing in their richness of information for what is happening at a given site. So almost see us almost as a TripAdvisor when it comes to rating information about various traveling experiences. See us as that, but for EV charging. So we're bringing that with into our partners' applications. So people sometimes work with us only on that level. Sometimes they work with us only for payment. Sometimes people work with us because they want to have both. They want to have that richness of information combined with the simplicity of having a single integration they can use for paying on multiple networks. So all these things are possible.
Thank you. We have a question here from Khalil, and Angela, I was wondering whether you would be able to take that. What are the supported geographies for EV routing, and how do you see that expand over time?
Certainly starting with North America, where we see higher volume of EVs. But one of the focuses for next year for the team is actually bringing your own charging data. So yes, there is a chance to use the data too. One can be done by us by default, but also anyone interested in developing their own EV router can bring their own data to the Mapbox platform. We are a global company, so we definitely aim to cover as many geographies as there are on the planet. So that's where we're headed.
Great. This brings us to the end of the session. Thank you both, Angela and Simon, for joining today. Thank you, anyone calling in today. Please be in touch. You can always send us an email through our channels for any follow-up questions on EV, and we're looking forward to be working with you all.